All right. You want to take up rule? How many of you were here last year? A good number. You may recall that before the inclusion bylaw we just passed, before it was passed last year, we had a non-discrimination provision that appeared as that bylaw, C-2-3. Last year's GA wanted to substitute the bylaw on inclusion for the one on non-discrimination, but did not want to eliminate the non-discrimination provision from our bylaws and rules together. So that GA adopted the non-discrimination provision as Rule G-2-3, which appears on pages 119 and 120 of your program book. Last year's GA anticipated that the board would return this year with proposed amendments to this language to substitute racialized identity for race and gender identity or expression for gender. This history and expectation are described on page 97 of your agenda, which was emailed to congregations over 30 days ago in compliance with our bylaw 4-14. We learned during the mini-assembly that some people came to GA for the express purpose of including this language in Rule G-2-3 because it was on the agenda. The mini-assembly voted specific changes to Rule G-2-3, some of which had been contemplated last year and were specifically listed in the agenda. The language that is proposed is on the piece of paper that was handed out when you entered the hall, although I will suggest to you there is a typo in there, and we'll get to that in just a minute. If you did not get the piece of paper, you can look it up. You can look over your neighbor's shoulder, or you could get the language on the GA app or the larger screens. We have it up there. Has everybody got it? Either in the front or on their app, or can see it on the screen. The words that have been added are, in line 1934, racialized identity, and in line 1935, gender expression, gender identity, and family and relationship structures. If you want to see this rule in context, the line numbers we are referring to are in the bylaws on pages 119 and 120. Did you get all those numbers and references? I now ask the Vice Moderator to make the motion to amend Rule G-2-3, which is on page 119 and 120 of your program, to incorporate the changes voted by the mini-assembly.
So before I make the motion, I'll point out the typo that is in the printed material, but it's correct both on the screens, in the app, and online. In the text that we are not changing, it should say national origin. And in the printed version, I believe it says national original. So that wasn't quite right. So that's a typo, so we'll just correct the typo. So we're voting on it with the typo corrected. So the motion. Moved that the proposed changes to Rule G-2.3 regarding non-discrimination found in your handouts and appearing on the screen be adopted by this assembly.
Okay, we'll now hear from speakers at the pro and at the pro microphone. We have a question from the procedures mic. I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
Hello, this is Larry Williams from Tennessee Valley U Church. And on number 1934, I am clear to what race means, as most of the world. I am not clear at all of what racialized identity means. And so I feel like I need a suggestion or to go back to what the world says is race. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me try to answer that. The board dealt with that last year quite extensively and was brought to us, and the board agreed on that was a better language to deal with today. So I can only answer it that way. The writers of the rule felt that that was appropriate language for these days. I recognize the delegate at the procedure microphone.
Yes, hello. Alexa Fraser from Unitarian Universalist Church of Silver Spring, as well as an incoming student at Star King. I had a class at the time of the mini workshop, so I was unable to attend that. I've sort of been sent back and forth to different mics. I'm not exactly certain I'm at the right place or at the right time, but it does seem to me that the more specific you make the details of this, the more omissions become critical, and body shape is a major issue in our world and is an area of discrimination that some face both in our world at large and within our congregations and faith. Is there a place I can stand to put that forward as a future year amendment?
You could make it today. After we vote on this, up or down, of course, if it's voted up, then you can make an amendment. You can make an amendment that we'll discuss. So I would take you over to the amendment mic. No, the lawyer's saying no.
Okay, that's why I've been pushed to different mics.
There you go. The amendment was not made at the mini assembly, so it is not in order today. So we'll have to come back at a future GA. Thank you for your question. I recognize the delegate at the procedure microphone, or as I call it, the stump the chump microphone.
Good morning, Mr. Moderator. I hope I don't need to stump the chump. My name is Reverend Peter Friedrichs. I proudly serve the Unitarian Universalist Church of Delaware County in Media, Pennsylvania. And I am here to declare my ignorance.
We can do this together.
I'm confident in the meaning of the term gender expression. I'm confident in the meaning of the term gender identity. And I think I know what sex is. But I don't know what sex means in the context of this statement. So I'd like a clarification on how that term is being used in this particular amendment.
Wow. Wow. It is a stump the chump line. Thank you for that. I was hoping we'd get to that. Just a moment. I'm going to consult with my lawyer.
There are people who propose the amendment at the pro microphone who can address.
Okay. I'm going to turn to the pro microphone to help us understand these words. Can I call on the delegate at the pro microphone?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm sorry about my voice, too, because I'm just very hoarse because of all the church we've been making here. But my name is Angela Bridgman, and I'm the delegate from the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of the Poconos in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And I hope that, because I have something to add, that you'll give me more time when I run out. But racialized identity was discussed because race is an artificial construct, and racialized identity to replace that. And now with what I was actually going to say when I came up here, when I brought this issue forward last year in Louisville, the response was such an outpouring of love and support and affirmation as I had never before experienced. And when that happened, a part of my soul that I had thought forever dead was revived. I'm grateful for that. In our efforts at the UUFP to get this issue on the agenda, we collected 955 signatures from 35 congregations across 12 states. I myself have been a member of 5 different UU congregations and a visitor at more than I can count. So this amendment simply reflects our actual reality. But why it's important is because it empowers us, the UUA, to advocate businesses and other institutions to change their non-discrimination policies. UUA successfully did this with Verizon in 2012. But imagine if Verizon's response had been, wait a minute, you're asking us to do something you yourselves haven't done. Now, the path I've followed as a transgender person has not been easy, but my way was smoothed a bit by those who went before me. And if what you do here today makes that road a little smoother for those who are currently on and for those who will later begin upon that road, then you will have shown them the kind of love and support and affirmation that I was shown in Louisville. Thank you.
Thank you. I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
Thank you. David Anderson, University Unitarian Church in Seattle. Are amendments to disincorporate any of this language in order?
They are not in order.
Thank you.
It didn't come through the mini assembly. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Mount from the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Asheville, North Carolina. And I'd like to ask if I could offer a point of information about what the actual language means.
I would be delighted for you to share that with us.
Awesome. In that case, so racialized identity is a change that was asked for to acknowledge that race, rather than being anything inherent or biological, is in fact an identity which has been constructed by our society. Gender expression is the way in which we present our gender to the people around us through our dress, our appearance, our addition or subtraction of makeup, facial hair, and so on. Gender identity is the feeling within us. It's how our brains believe our identity to exist internally. That may or may not correspond to biological sex, which is what is anatomically yours and assigned to you at the moment of birth. Does that help, folks?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you for helping us there. I recognize the delegate at the procedure mic.
My name is Annie Simpson, and I'm from the Unitarian Church in Reston, Virginia. I just wanted to add an old person's point of view about sex. You remember those forms? Male or female. Those are the choices on sex, and that's why we have all these other terms, because we aren't just male or female.
Thank you.
But we don't want to exclude that.
Thank you. Well, we do not have anybody at the con microphone, so I think we're ready to take up this rule change, correct? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor of adopting this rule, raise your cards. All opposed? And we have delegates voting offline. We have one pro, no con, so the motion overwhelmingly carries. Thank you. The moderator continues to be impressed with how the hall is interacting with delegates bringing their passions to these things. But we're so far ahead of schedule.